Thank you. And over to you. And Anna, do you want to just give a quick introduction about yourself? And then we'll move on to your very important piece for today.
Thank you, Nira. I'm the editor, or the, what do I call myself? Chief editor for the Global Influencers Publishing House, which means that I look after our team of editors. I actually read everybody's story. So I know all the stories that have gone in all the 4 books. And in fact, we only had a launch this week, wasn't it? It seemed like ages ago, but it was only Monday night that we had a launch of volume 4. I've written in 2 of the volumes, and if you haven't seen them, this is what they look like. They are very interesting books because we have, like yourselves, people from all over the world, women from all over the world. We've had people, well, obviously from Australia, from Hong Kong and Singapore, but we've had people from Europe, we've had people from America, the UK, all sorts. And that's what makes these books so interesting because, as you can imagine, the perspective of just everyday life is different everywhere. I'd like to touch on a couple of things. I better say who I am. I'm an author, obviously. I'm also an editor. I'm also a writing coach / mentor. So I work with people to help them write their books, and that is always good fun. And I've got a few authors who are coming through the system now, which is really exciting. I have been involved with these books from the start, isn't it, Nira? I've done all of these books. Yep. So it'll be our 100 plus authors with the 5th one. Yay, it's exciting. I just wanted to talk about the schedule that I believe that all of you have seen. And the first thing I want to say is keeping to the deadlines is critical. For those of you who have written books before or who have written chapters before, it is vital that you stick to the deadlines. And if your chapter is ready now, send it in now. As soon as your chapter is ready, please send it in. Don't wait until the 28th of March, because what happens is we get, 5 or 6 or 7 people send it in at the last minute, and we get a bottleneck. And that creates problems for our editing team because, as you can imagine, they're busy doing re-edits and editing things for the first time. It gets really, really scary, intense. People get crabby, all of those bad things. Even though we're not all in the same place, we all get anxious about keeping on deadline because it is important that we publish the books when we say we're going to publish them. Please, if you have I'm just looking, I've got a copy of the schedule here. That's why I'm looking at it. If you've got anything ready now, if you've got your synopsis ready, if you've got your bio ready and your photo, please send in whatever you have, send it in as you have it, because the sooner we can get started on any part of it, the better it is for the editing team. What happens is that your chapter will get an edit by one of our team, and then you get to look at it for a first time and a last time. That is, you only get one look at it. Please, the submission length is 2,000 words. If you send 2,312 words, 312 words will be cut from your piece, and there are no exceptions. And believe me, it breaks my heart sometimes to have to do it, but I have to be fair to everybody. The book can only be so big, and I've had to cut back some fantastic chapters to make it fit. When you get your chapter back for a review of the edit, it doesn't mean that you add another 300 words, please. If you've had words taken out, it means they've been taken out to meet the deadline, the word limit. If you want to add more words, you need to take words out somewhere else, because if it comes back with more words, they will get taken out. I hate doing it, and I hate telling the team to do it, but we have to do it. We're on a very tight deadline. I had a look at it today, and the editing team have, from submission of synopses to the review, to this final submission is just over a month. That is not a lot of time to edit 40,000 words. Okay, that's a lot of pressure. For those of you who have written books before, you know how to write. You know how to start. You know what to write. You know how to make it interesting. But you've written books. A chapter of 2,000 words is different. It's only 2,000 words. A big hint is that about 50% of your chapter, so 1,000 words, should be about you, your story, where you came from, what your big aha moment was, how it affected you, what you learned. The rest of your chapter, you are setting the scene for your aha moment. So basically, if you think of it this way, you start by asking a question. Have you ever felt? Or, even if you're not writing the question, you start with a question in your mind and you answer that question. And then you give evidence for the answer that you give to the question. People think in two ways. They think with their heads or they think with their hearts. By giving evidence, you are appeasing the people who think with their heads. By telling your story, you are appeasing the people who think with their hearts. So that way you get everybody into your story. By the end of the story, we want to see you giving your readers something to take away, something that they can take with them that you have learned, something that will be of benefit to them from your learning. So, for example, I had a stroke, and one of the things that I learned was that I had to learn how to ask for things. I had to learn how to ask people to help me. I had to ask people, how do I use the dishwasher? And one of the things that I learned was never to be afraid to ask a question. And that is one of the takeaways that when I wrote my first chapter, I gave as a takeaway. Never be afraid to ask a question. So that is just an example. It can be one thing, it can be a list of things. If you're doing a list, odd numbers are better than even numbers, unless, of course, it's 10. People like 10, people like 5, people like 7. And they seem to be the numbers that work really well with lists of things. What else can I tell you about? What else, Nira? Can you think of anything else that I need to mention here? I can't think of anything else. What you've learned, what you want others to learn. You're not telling everything about you because you've only got 2,000 words. You need to speak about one thing, one occasion in your life, one story, because we all have lots of stories. I have lots of stories. Yes, I had a stroke, but then, other things have happened in my life that I like to talk about. The second time I wrote about my cat and how she dealt with fear and the takeaways that I saw in her and how they could be translated to people. So again, everybody has lots of stories. Everybody can find different learnings in different aspects of their life. What else,
What
Nira?
about quotations? A lot of people like to have quotes in there.
Yep.
How does somebody choose that quotation, or at the beginning, at the end, in between?
You can use quotations. A lot of people like to have them at the start. I like them. If you're going to use a quote, use a small quote because it all counts as part of your 2,000 words. Okay, those words are precious. As I said, we have to cut words more often than we have to say to people, add more words. And pick a quote that is relevant to your story, not just because you like it. If it's not relevant, then our team will say, well, why is it there? Why is it there? What purpose does it serve? But certainly use a quote and attribute your quote because we always need to have anything that is referenced. We need to make sure that the rightful owners are used. We do not like plagiarism, and we will find it if you plagiarize. We do run a plagiarism program on everything we receive. and we have rejected authors because of the amount of plagiarism in their work. And I don't want that to happen to people. You can use a quote at the end if that's how you want to end your story. But, usually the best way to end the story is with a call to action, is with that list of things to do, or, have a look at your life, or if I can do it, you can do it, or, a something to do is the best way to end, because that will create, that will give people something to think about when they leave your story. The other thing that I recommend when you're writing is that your paragraphs and your sentences are short. The reason for that is that when you're reading, and as you know, we're all busy women, when you are reading, you always look for somewhere where you can say, I need to stop. I need to either stop so I can think about what I have read, or I need to stop because I have to go and do something else. If you're giving people really long paragraphs, you are not giving people a chance to stop. Your reader will just put the book down and go away and never come back. But if you give them a short paragraph, they will put the book down and come back because they want to know more. It's all about encouraging your reader to keep reading. Let them rest, let them think about what you've written, and then they'll come back. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
How about, as you mentioned, like so everybody has different stories, right? We
Yes.
have more than one. Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
Now, I've had this question as well, and I've always said that, look, we have to obviously take it back to the editorial team. But since we've got people over here, why don't we help them? Like, if somebody, I mean, we all have more stories, right?
Yep.
How do we choose which one do we want to write about?
Ooh, that's a really, really good question. I guess the story that you're going to write about is something that is important to you. It is not something that is commonplace, that every man and his dog is going to have the same story. This is going to be something special. This is going to be something that had some sort of a life-changing twist to it. So as I said, I had a stroke. Well, that's a life-changing twist. Obviously, you can see that I'm okay. I have nothing wrong with me that anybody can see. But I had a stroke and I had some learning from that. So other people have had medical issues and other people have learned things from those medical issues. But unless you tell them you've had that problem, they won't know. They'll just assume that you've been okay the whole time, that you've had no struggles. We've had other people who they've been in these magnificent corporate jobs, and their craft, their hobby, the thing that they like to do on those rare moments when they had time to themselves has been the thing that has changed their lives. They have left their super duper high flying corporate jobs to pursue a career in the arts. And it's been successful. And they've learned so much by taking that bold step to leave something that they were so successful at, to move into something that was, I don't know how I'm going to go at this. I don't know whether it'll work. But now that I've done it, I'm so glad I've done it. And I want to encourage everybody else to do the same thing. Isn't it, Neera, that we've had so many of those sort of stories?
Oh, indeed, we have. And Mariam here says, choose most inspiring one. And she also says, use hero's journey model to write your story. And again, look, everybody needs to just decide what they're ready to share with people and what will inspire people. And you know what? Sometimes it really doesn't matter what effect the story will have on other people, because it's also about you. And if you want to write about something that helps you unburden yourself, well, then
Yes.
you know what, it's so worth it. So again, these are some of the tips that can help you choose. And of course, if you're still struggling, we're here for you. So
Correct.
can certainly help you with that. We have no problems. If you wanted to submit a couple of synopses, like an idea like this, we can certainly help you.
what Neera said about unburdening for the first time authors, for the people who are writing a chapter as a stepping stone for their books. Writing does so many things, and it can give you that credibility that you are seeking. It can make you the expert in your field. But one of the most important things that it can do is that it can unburden you from the weight of your story, because there have been many stories that have been very intense and very deep and very, very very, very hard to read and very hard to digest, because they have been so personal and have had such immense learnings to go with them. But in telling their stories, the authors have all said that I can breathe again because it is out. And that is a very important part of writing your story. And you should never be afraid to share your story, because one of the most important things that I have learned in the last few years is that what anybody else thinks about you is none of your business. What anybody else thinks of you is none of your business. I think that is the most wonderful thing that I have learned, because once you learn that, you can do anything.
I so agree. I so agree. All right, so let's just open the floor to questions, and
Yes.
let's see if people have got some individual questions. Look, whoever wants to ask a question, just unmute yourself. We're just a small group. Put us in gallery so we can all.
Very
Great.
sorry, just very quickly, I wanted to know the schedule.
Right.
I'll email it to you again, Shobha.
Okay.
Okay, just quickly, the 28th of March is the final date for the submission of the full chapter. 28th of March. So you've got about just over
18 days.
Yeah, 18 days. Okay, there you go. 18 days. Okay, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a heap of time if you haven't started. If you've already started, if you're finished, we want it now.
Thank you. It's Tilly. I really like your last. So what I did, I was so nervous. This is my first time writing a book. I've always been afraid of sharing my story, really, because I think it burdens me, because it's been such a tough journey from South Africa to living here, and just my journey, because I come from very, very different background, and just living with people with such a different mindset was such a difficult thing for me to even comprehend, even get myself here. So it's been such a painful and emotional journey. It's been very difficult. So I actually finished my chapter because I was so nervous, but I know it's not 100% done, but I think I just had to let it all out. But I think what I like what you said is, I didn't think about the call to action. So I think that's the part that I'm gonna try and include. But what I was trying to be mindful of is the tone and imagination, because I was thinking, because I read quite a lot, and I was trying to, I write thought leadership pieces and press. I've never written a book, it's totally different. But in terms of creating a vision, a visual for your reader, a tone and description, how does that work? Is that something you help us with? I try to do that, but I'm not good at it because I'm not a writer. But how do I balance that, the visualizing and that?
Yeah, when you're writing, imagine your reader, imagine your perfect reader, imagine that the person who's going to pick up your chapter and read it and love it. Write for that person.
Okay.
Write for one person. Imagine one person, not a broad group, because not everybody is going to like everybody's chapter.
Yeah. Okay.
Some chapters are going to resonate with some people more than others. But if you write for your ideal reader, you will find that reader. That reader will find you, and they will think, this is the chapter for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, but Anna, how do you find your ideal reader?
You ask yourself, why am I writing this chapter? Why am I writing this chapter? And you keep asking yourself that question until you have a really good reason. And when you say, I'm writing this chapter because I want to share my experience of having a stroke. Why do you want to share your experience of having a stroke? I want people to know that it's not as scary as you think. Why do you want people to know that it's not as scary as you think? I want people to know that it's okay to ask questions. Okay, that is my why for writing my chapter. So I just ask why and why and why until I find that really last why I'm writing that chapter. Then you look at who is going to need to know about my why. Who is that person? And that's how you find your reader. That's how you define your reader. Okay, my reader, well, I'm a lady in her 50s. So my reader is probably going to be somebody like me in their 50s, a single person with nobody else in the house. So you have to make choices about who you can ask to help, ask for help. Somebody who, now I've said, okay, I live on my own, I'm independent. I work, I don't drive anymore, and all of those things. So you make a real picture of your reader in your mind, and that's who you're writing for. And anytime you might get stuck, it's only 2,000 words, but you always think about your reader. And anytime you might get stuck, for example, you might get stuck in what are the takeaways? What can I give to my reader? And you just have to think, my reader is that person, is that 50-plus woman who lives alone, who doesn't have any support in the house. So she needs to know that it's okay to ask questions, that it's okay to ask for support, and that it's okay. It's just okay to be.
This is very helpful, very, very helpful. I think the why and the who. And to that point where you said a lot of people do get stuck at call for action. I think that's such a common thing. And we've seen that in so many chapters that we
yes.
believe there's a whole story, there's everything like on what people did, but they forgot the call to action.
Yes, and it's very difficult for the editing team to have to write your call to actions for you, because we aren't the people who have lived your lives, who have lived your experiences. So we just write something so that it is there, and then we give it back to you, and then we come back with 500 more words, and we shake our heads because we go, why?
Oh dear. Anyone else have a question?
I've got a question. So now that we've had this conversation, if we want to refine the synopsis a little bit, do we just send that back through as quickly as we can?
Absolutely. No issues on that. And it's better to do that before you start writing the chapter anyway.
Yeah.
It's helpful for everybody. Sure.
Yeah, the synopses are really helpful. And particularly for when the person who writes the preface is doing the preface, if we have a synopsis rather than having to read every single chapter again, it really helps a lot.
I have a question as well.
Joanna, you're on mute. Did you want to just unmute yourself, and then Mariam will go to you next?
Yeah, so if there is something that we want to give a factual reference to, what format do you need the referencing in, if any?
Oh gosh, I don't think we've ever had anything that has had a really formal reference. As long as you can provide the author's name, the title of the book, the publisher, and the date, that is the standard.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great.
The other thing I just remembered is please avoid having names of people in your book, even if it's kids or parents or anything like that. just because we don't have their written permission. And again, if it is somebody, if you wanted to reference somebody who's already authored or some for some reason, then we can get their permission, and usually it's okay. But just in general, avoid names of people, whether they're spouses or parents or friends or mentors. The other thing, and I know we do get that every now and then, there are authors that feel that they have to thank a lot of people in their chapters. Now, again, your chapter is only 2,000 words. Please, and I don't mean to use the word waste, but I would suggest that leave that for, when you're posting about your story, or you're posting about the fact that you're writing about the book. Leave the thank yous for that. Completely avoid using them, but because the story is about you, and not so much about them, unless you want to write about some particular incident. Avoid the general thank yous.
And if you feel you need to talk about a person, change the names of the guilty parties. Okay, just change the names, and make sure that put a note with your story that you have changed names, so that we know, so that the editors don't come back saying we need to take this out because it refers to Barry, and Barry might be a real person, and we don't know whether you've changed the name or not. So just some indication.
Mariam, you had a question.
I just wanted to ask about the call to action that you guys are talking about. So can you give some examples of what sort of call to action that we are putting in? And also another question about because I'm a coach and running a business, I do have a website and other social media platforms. Is it recommended to mention any sort of extra resources in the middle of the chapter that you can download the sort of the free book over there? Or no, if this just spoils the thing? Or
Mariam, you have 2,000 words. You don't want to waste those words on giving links to other things. You in your bio, you can leave. You have the opportunity to include 3 social media handles. Email, LinkedIn, Facebook seems to be the most general ones, or even websites. Whichever 3 are your most favoured, you are encouraged to include them, because we are hoping that people will contact you. But please, 2,000 words, you will find that 2,000 words is not a lot and probably not enough for whatever you want to say. So don't, it's not wasting it, but don't use up the valuable word real estate that you have in stuff that you can do elsewhere.
Sure. So, and also, can you please give some examples of the call to action that we need to include at the end of the chapter?
Sure. Now, I have just flicked open the book. This is book. Okay, I'm just reading from one of the stories. 4 powerful statements which will assist in creating a life you love are: 1, I have the power to create change. 2, I create my reality. 3, I take responsibility and am moving toward my dreams. And 4, I am the architect of my life. You may not get the second chance I got. Don't lay on your deathbed and know that you lie there with regret and the knowledge that you haven't lived a life on your terms, that you live the life that was expected of you. Live life by design, not default. I do. What about you? That is a call to action. The author has given us four things that you can take away, but she has also invited you to take action. Let's see, I'll just find another one.
I think it would be a good idea for me to purchase the last volume. Now I'm thinking.
And when you do, get all 4 of them, Mariam.
I'm looking at volume 3. Okay, so because we only launched volume volume 4 this week, so I haven't got mine yet. Okay, let's see. Now, someone else has here. She has letters as the start. So she has a word, alls, ALLS. A for acknowledge, L for learn, L for list, S for steps forward. And after each of those words, she has a little explanation of each of those. So acknowledge if the situation is in your control. L for learn from the situation. L for list ways to move forward. S, steps forward. By taking steps forward, you are taking action. What is possible for you? So the way you want to do it is entirely up to you. But as you can see, there are different ways. So here, look, this one just has a closing paragraph. Allowing space for myself at the crossroads in my life, not fearing and appreciating how these could be times to regroup, was a fundamental mindset shift. Drawing from my experience, you too can be empowered to write the next chapters of your life. It's a call to action. It's a subtle call to action. It doesn't have to be in your face.
Yeah. And another thing, Mariam, and we've had stories, Anna, where people have had call to action in between their story, where they've gone from point 1, 2, and 3, where they're talking about a situation and they've had a call to action, like this is what I did and this is what I believe people can do. So that's another style as well that people have taken. Yeah.
Yes.
Anybody else have any other questions? And I hope, Mariam, this helped. Anyone else?
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. This is, yeah, well, I guess everybody then knows what to be done, and everyone's all excited about now getting back onto their laptops or notebooks and start writing their chapters. So this is really exciting. And again, thank you all for joining today. And look, again, if you've got more questions that come up afterwards, please do send it across to us and we'll try and best answer. And as Anna said, that if you've got your synopsis ready, if you've got your bio photo, all of that ready, please do send it to us, because if there's something not right, we can always send it back to you on time, so that we're not scrambling towards the end, because we always are stressed towards the end. So if you've got something ready, send it out. And if you've got a couple of ideas that you're working with, again, send it out to us and we can kind of help you decide on what stream or what direction to take. Any last words, Anna?
Yes, I'm looking forward to reading your stories. I have taken notes about who you are and where you are and what you're writing, what you're talking about, and what your ideas are. And I really am excited to read your chapters.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, everybody. And I will soon be forming a WhatsApp group for all of us, as in all of the co-authors. So then you can start sharing your personal links and any other thing that you want to share. And then we'll keep sharing a lot of information on that. And it'll be really, really fun. Once we do that, it is a lot of fun. So happy writing, everyone.